Welcome to the Bold Analysis. I opined in this channel that the relationship between Mount Kenya Clergy and William Ruto's presidential bid was a parasitic relationship, and it was devoid of the spiritual connotation that it was being given. And I also said that religionization, or rather the spiritual endorsement of William Ruto's breakthrough, is being overdone. And I can tell you that Mount Kenya Clergy are now revealing what, according to me, is a deal went so. They are revealing that relationship between them and William Ruto was never about the Kenyan people, but about their own interests. This is it. The Nation today has done an article revealing the benefits, or rather the demands, that the clergy that supported William Ruto are putting on table so that he can fulfill. And this is just opening the lid on memorandum of understanding that was signed in Karen between the church, between the evangelical, a section of evangelical churches, and the deputy president, and then President William Ruto under the Kenya Kwanza. And this is it. The demands include monetary allocation to pastors. That pastors wants to be allocated money. So I just ask a question. Are we going to pay them with the taxpayers' money salaries as civil servants? Or what is the criteria of that allocation? Or is that allocation being done to churches? Under what, guys? I'm like, okay, how? How are we doing? How is government going to pay pastors? Oh my, I'm not against this. I'm just asking how. And what is the role they have done to government? I don't want to go to the biblical understanding of what it is. That is one. Number two, allocation of land to churches. Okay. So, of course, I know that there are government churches. There are churches that are sitting in government land. And sometimes I'm not shocked when I see some of these evangelical pastors throwing their weight behind William Ruto's presidency, believing that is it, this is needed. Now, this shows why today Dorcas Rigathi, the second lady, or Rigathi Gachagur's wife, was in the office of Nairobi Governor Johnson Sakaja, praying for Johnson Sakaja breakthrough. And that was not even first day in office. If you ask me, I don't think they went to pray for Johnson Sakaja. They went there for a meeting, and that is the photo that you're seeing. They were there for a meeting, and I think Dorcas Sakaja just took a section of those pastors to Dorcas Rigathi took a section of the clergy to Sakaja's office. And because Sakaja is Nairobi governor, I think he sits in an influential office that can address the issue of allocation of land to churches. This could be Nairobi, and we are going to see whether government can give churches land. Will this go to legislation? That was demand number two. Demand number three is appointment to commissions. Okay, this one I saw even the former president Uhuru Kenyatta, in the run-up to the general election, made some appointed some Akurino leaders to government parastatals. He also donated land, but that land was donated on his capacity as president and the family of the Kenyatta, which we understand had a very strong relationship with the Akurino. And by the way, Kenyatta was not so much, but again, he was a Catholic. Then when Moi came, Moi established a relationship with the African Inland Church. So it's not bad to establish a relationship with the church. Mwai Kibaki was Catholic. President Uhuru Kenyatta was Catholic. William Ruto has then broke from the mainstream churches, that is Catholic, the Anglican, and the rest, and is now finding a new relationship with the evangelical churches. And appointments to the commission. Are we going to appoint the congregation? No, it's them. That is demand number 3. Number 3 is state corporations. Remember, some of these commissions and state corporations are also on power sharing framework that Kenya Kwanza have. So in the desk of William Ruto, there is a 30% that Musalia Mudavadi and Moses Wetangula are going to get in terms of appointment to commissions and appointment to state corporations. That was it. At the same time, the churches are also looking for a percentage. Wait, foreign missions and cabinet. Oh my goodness. If you think state culture is what was Kenya Kwanza revealed at the debate, then I say no. This is not what is called state capture. So, in the cabinet, one of the considerations that William Ruto have is to pick one person from the church. It's not wrong. It's not wrong to pick a pastor to the cabinet, or to pick one member from the clergy to the cabinet. Or maybe the clergy can front one person. But if you go that direction, where does that put Catholic? Where does that put Anglican? Where does that put even Christians? Where does that put the Indian nations in Kenya, the Muslims, and the other religions? In fact, William Ruto is under siege. Because now these are the people that are capturing the state, the presidency of William Ruto. And these are shackles these are nets, a web that is around him. If he comes out of this, maybe he's going to lose a very serious constituency as far as his political future is concerned, because the church played a role. They want, as well as zero-rated government funds to facilitate church activities through a clergy's circle. Okay, let me get to this. They want a zero-rated government funds to facilitate church activities through a clergy's circle. How is this possible? Zero-rated government fund. So, because already William Ruto has the Hustlers Fund, which is the other fund, how is government going to inject fund in the church circle? They can have the church circle, of course, but how is this going to be viable? Where? I'll take. Now, they want the independence of churches guaranteed by lifting moratorium on registration, establishing Of course, there was if you talk to members of the clergy, they will tell you that in this country, if there is one of the most difficult things to manage to do is to register a church. It's a challenge. Ilikuwa na shida sana. But I think it was lifted somewhere in May by President Uhuru Kenyatta because the process was tedious. In fact, they had just stopped registration of churches, and I think that was because after 2017, it stopped some time back. Not even 2017. Uko 2014, by the way. Ni kitambo sana. And if you're someone who is a clergy and you're a pastor and you've ever tried registering a church, you can talk to us in the comment section to reveal when was that and how the process has been tedious. Personally, I've tried, not a pastor, but I have a friend who was trying, and we really went through a lot. in fact we couldn't succeed. Now, that is possible. Then, establishment of Registrar of Religious Organizations Office and forming a cabinet docket for religious affairs. That's asking for too much. I know. Hapana. Hapana. I know. Hapana. Hapana. No. That's asking for too much. Even if I'm William, I don't think. We create a cabinet position that President William Ruto to create a cabinet position to legislate or to form on cabinet docket for religious affairs. Honestly, this one is one thing. I think this one is legislation. If they want things, it's legislation. It's under ministry. And just do legislation on content of churches. Honestly, we can't create a docket to pay taxpayers' money to regulate churches. So what's the name of that cabinet secretary? Okay, so we want to create. What is the name of that cabinet secretary? No. They also demand tax exemption on items and services imported by registered churches. Why? 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 Surely. So the pastors, okay, hawako wengi, and so if they say so, that they want the taxes to be exempted from taxes if they import items from members of churches that are registered. And how many churches do we have in the country? Remember, this cannot be an isolated rule. If William Ruto is to implement such a demand, then it must go through a legislation or an executive order. No. It might have to go through a legislation. Then it will not cut across only 2 or 3 churches. This will cut across. And if it's religious, then if it's on religious grounds, then even Muslims and with registered mosques will demand to be allowed to import. And if the pastor is saying he will be allowed to import at no fee, at no charge, then what will stop a teacher from saying so? Or what will stop the doctor from saying so? Are they part of the essential service providers to the government? I don't get it. Because at the end of the day, government needs success. And so I wonder, when William Ruto was signing some of these documents, did they really go through to know what exactly was the content? Because some of those demands are ridiculous. It's not practical. Even if it was to get to the floor of the House, really, they cannot sail. And I don't know whether the clergy knew that some of these things will get to the public. So, what I'm only wondering is, one, William Ruto has not formed the cabinet. He has not named the cabinet, but is yet to do that. In the next 2 days, I hope the cabinet, we shall have an idea of what is going on. But why are they then revealing this information now? Because the truth of the matter here, I've tried to do a lot of my background search, and the truth of the matter here is, this information is coming from the clergy themselves. They also have the same document that William Ruto is having. And this document is not with the Register of Political Parties. This document is with William Ruto as president. Then the churches are remaining with it. So, is there a possibility that then they have realized that some of those demands might not be met, so they want to create, to make the country know that this is what they were promised? Kindly subscribe to our channel, click the notification bell and like our video. I am so disappointed. To be honest, I'm so disappointed by the men who are supposed to protect the interest of the Kenyan people and the congregants. Because if you look at that, you ask a question: where is the interest of the congregants? And when President Uhuru Kenyatta spoke in Sagana, he said that nyinyi wale mapasta wetu tunadanganywa, and he was so, and I think this way former President Uhuru Kenyatta was so aggressive against these pastors from Mount Kenya because they were being used. So look at the kind of demands they're putting. If you look at those demands, there is none that touches on the lives of the people. And do those demands have the spirit of the hustler nation? Because it's about them importing cars. So if they want to import cars at no tax, so are the congregants also doing so? And if so, if they want these state corporations and all that, so what is the interest to the congregants? It's their own interest. And that's why I say that that relationship is parasitic. And I think they should not hold President William Ruto at ransom. This is ridiculous. This is not possible. Now, cracks within the church will emerge over the same issues, because even if they are to be met, not all. Even if William Ruto is to offer state jobs, not all can get. The ones that will miss out can still walk out in protest. But the question here is, why don't I see that this kind of demands coming this time that negates the assertion that was created that William Ruto's government was spiritually endorsed by them? The spiritual aspect of putting the government here does not then get its relevance, because it seems that they simply supported him. And of course, William Ruto was smart. He knew very well that people, sometimes it's about interests. And if the mainstream churches had taken a space, so what do you think is option? The mainstream churches will join the opposition to oppose the government, because William Ruto has picked the evangelical churches. It's mostly possible. But I don't think this is the direction. Some of these are not really going to. And William Ruto is some of these documents, because that is churches revealing theirs. There was a charter by doctors. There was a charter, I think, even by the police. I don't know. There was a charter by the teachers and the people living with disability. And now this is only one from the clergy. So if each and every person is going to bring his charter, and there was a charter of the Kenyan people in the name of the manifesto, if William Ruto is not careful, then he's really setting the stage for massive rebellion, because we are working in a different era where people are much informed. That's my board.